now, there's an outbreak of dengue fever hitting some of our Pacific neighbours, with Samoa, the Cooks, French Polynesia, Kiribati, Tonga, Nauru, American Samoa and Tuvalu all affected. And it's having an impact here as well. Latest figures show 103 cases of dengue fever recorded in Auckland since January. That's double the number of cases recorded for all of the last year. Dengue fever, also known as breakbone fever, is a viral infection that spreads from mosquitoes to people. Greg Devine is with the World Mosquito Program and joins us now. Greg, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show. Tell us, is this on a scale of 1 to 10, how alarming is this for the Pacific?
Well, it's certainly alarming, mostly because of the number of deaths that have been associated by these particular outbreaks around the Pacific. This is the Pacific's worst year for dengue for about a decade. But it's really just a corollary of the fact that dengue is increasing globally everywhere. So it's the world's most common mosquito-borne virus. And there are something incredible like 400 million cases of dengue or dengue infections annually. And some of those are symptomatic, and some of those unfortunately go on to be very severe dengue manifestations and result in death. So it's a bad year for the Pacific.
Most common mosquito virus out there, what's my chances of dying from it or being, seriously sick?
So it's not a mosquito-borne disease like malaria or even viruses like Japanese encephalitis. It does not have a high death rate. Unfortunately, children are the most vulnerable to dengue fever because of their kind of immature immune systems and their propensity to get some of the more severe impacts. So as an adult, you're not very likely to die from dengue, although it can be incredibly incapacitating. I mean, you can be in bed for a couple of weeks feeling pretty awful. And obviously, if you're in Asia or the Americas or the poorer parts of the world, then that's a lot of lost income. So it's a big problem economically and in terms of kind of overwhelming public health authorities.
So what do people do to protect themselves? I mean, obviously don't get bit by a mosquito, but that's often hard to avoid, isn't it? What's your advice, Greg?
Unfortunately, that's about it. So at the moment, vaccines are still kind of really in development. There are now vaccines registered in some parts of the world. They're not registered in Australia and New Zealand, so you can't get them in this part of the Southern Hemisphere. They're not an option for most of the endemic countries of the world, just because they're too expensive, but eventually they will become an option for travellers. But in the meantime, until they do become available, I'm afraid it really is just avoiding mosquito bites. So it really is using plenty of repellent, being aware when mosquitoes are most active, which for the dengue mosquito, it tends to be the earlier parts of the morning and the kind of, at dusk. They don't like being out in the sunlight. So the middle of the day, you're less likely to get bitten. The beginning and the end of the day, you are likely to get bitten. So particularly for kids, if you're traveling with kids, make sure that, they have nets over their cots. Protect them when they're outdoors. Wear long sleeves, long trousers. It really is about avoiding getting bitten. But I would say the other thing about travellers is just, although the outbreak in the Pacific is severe, dengue is endemic in Asia and the Americas, and it's there in vast numbers, and the risk of exposure is much larger if you were travelling to Asia or Americas. So just keep it in perspective.
Why are there mosquitoes with dengue in the islands and not here? Is it just climate?
Yeah, it's largely climate. And one of the reasons probably that the Pacific is now encountering more dengue is because of climate change. So, of course, the Pacific is leading the world in terms of trying to understand the potential impacts of climate. We are heating up pretty quickly now. And that means that it's much easier for these mosquitoes that transmit dengue to survive and reproduce and get to very high densities. And also, the other thing with increasing temperature is that the virus within the mosquitoes replicates more quickly as well. Mosquitoes are obviously cold-blooded insects. And so for the virus to really thrive, they need hotter temperatures. And we're now providing those in terms of climate change.
All right. Greg, what are the symptoms, just for those who are a bit worried?
Well, a lot of people won't have any symptoms at all. They won't even realize they're sick. For those that do get symptoms, it's really fatigue, muscle and joint pain, headaches, kind of like a bad kind of flu, I guess. And at times that may make people really kind of quite incapacitated. If it gets any worse than that, quite often a few days after the initial symptoms come on, then you get something called severe dengue or hemorrhagic dengue. And that's a much more severe form of the disease where you really do need hospital treatment. There's no cure. You just need a lot of supervision in hospital and a lot of fluids. And unfortunately, as I say, it's children who are most vulnerable to these most severe effects. So just if you are traveling in disease endemic areas, just be aware that symptoms that are flu-like could be something else. And just get them checked out.
All right, Greg. Or probably the safest thing to do then, if it affects children, is to leave them at home if you're going on holiday next time. Greg, appreciate your time. Greg Devine from the World Mosquito Program. What a job.